All right, buckle up, everyone, because today we are going deep, deep, deep into Ford's 5.0L Coyote engine.
One of the most popular V8s out there, and for good reason.
Oh, yeah, we've got piles of research here from, let's see, Hot Rod, Motor Trend, Ford Authority.
Even some hardcore performance stuff from Lethal Performance and Brummer Engine.
We're going to figure out why this engine's such a legend, how it's evolved, and how Ford somehow shoehorns it into both the Mustang and the F-150.
It really is a pretty interesting story. I mean, the Coyote is not just about horsepower.
Right.
It's a whole engineering philosophy almost.
Yeah, I burst onto the scene, what was it, 2011, in the Mustang GT.
Yep.
And you could almost hear Mustang fans everywhere, rejoicing when that 5.0 badge came back.
17 years, I think it was, gone for 17 years.
But this wasn't just some nostalgia thing.
No, absolutely not.
They completely redesigned it, scrapped the old 4.6L modular V8 and started fresh.
And that was a bold move, especially back then.
Yeah, when everyone was, going turbo crazy.
Exactly. It was like Ford was zigging while everyone else was zagging.
And it totally paid off, though. The original Coyote, 412 horsepower. I think Car and Driver even got it up to 420 in 13 and 14.
Yeah, it was a hit, especially for people who loved that naturally aspirated feel, that raw power.
But of course, Ford's not going to just, rest on their laurels.
Never.
So in 2015, we got the Gen 2 Coyote, 435 horsepower.
Yeah, but the real changes were under the skin, a lot of refinements.
Yeah, I was reading about the valve sizes and camshaft profiles, that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And people on the Mustang forums were going nuts, analyzing every little tweak.
Oh, for sure.
Trying to predict how it would perform on the track. I mean, talk about dedication.
That's the Coyote for
Yeah.
Gets people fired up. But then 2018 rolls around and Ford really drops a bomb, the Gen 3. And this wasn't just a power bump. They introduced dual injection.
Okay, now that's where I need you to break it down for me.
Sure.
What is so special about having both direct and port injection?
So think of it this way. Direct injection, it's super precise. High pressure, shoots fuel right into the combustion chamber. Great for power, great for efficiency, especially when you're pushing the engine.
Okay.
But port injection, that mixes the fuel with air in the intake port, which is actually better for low speeds and emissions.
So it's they combine a best of both worlds.
Exactly. Major leap forward, let the Gen 3 hit 460 horsepower, all while still meeting those, stricter emission standards.
Sneaky. And we see that tech in a lot of performance engines now, but Ford was really ahead of the curve.
Yeah, they were one of the first to really make it work.
And they didn't stop there. They did a higher compression ratio, redesigned the intake manifold. I mean, it's they threw the whole engineering playbook at it.
And the result? The current Mustang GT, 480 horsepower, and the Dark Horse, 500.
500. Insane. Yeah. But now we got to talk about the F-150. How does the same engine that powers this, muscle car end up in a work truck?
Right. It's the beauty of the Coyote, though. Ford knows that while Mustang drivers want that high-revving power, F-150 owners need something different.
Torque.
Torque. They need that low-end grunt for towing, for hauling.
So it's they gave the F-150's Coyote a whole different personality.
Pretty much. The horsepower numbers might be a bit lower in the truck, but the torque curve is where it's at. They tuned it to deliver power way down low in the RPM range, exactly where you need it when you're, towing a boat or a trailer full of stuff.
So what's the big takeaway here for our listeners?
I think the Coyote shows that great engineering is all about adaptability. It's not just raw power. It's about understanding what different drivers need and then tailoring the solution to meet those needs.
And it makes you wonder just how they pulled it off. I mean, these are two totally different vehicles with totally different demands.
Right.
Maybe we should dive into some of the engineering secrets that make this Coyote tick.
Let's do it. Yeah, it's a pretty amazing piece of engineering when you really look at it. One of the big things is the all-aluminum construction.
Oh, right. Yeah, aluminum's lighter than the old, cast iron?
Right.
So that makes sense for performance, but is there more to it than just that?
There's always more to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, weight reduction is huge, obviously. I mean, think about it. Better acceleration, sharper handling. But aluminum is also really good at getting rid of heat.
So it runs cooler.
Exactly.
Which I guess, helps it last longer.
Keeps it performing at its best. And then there's one of my favorite parts, the variable valve timing.
Oh, yeah, right. That's how they make it work in both the Mustang and the F-150, right?
Well, it's a big part of it, yeah.
But remind me again how does it actually work? I mean, it can, change when the valves open and close, right?
Yep. depending on the engine speed and how much load it's under.
Right.
So imagine you're cruising down the highway in your F-150, you've got a trailer hooked up. You need that smooth, low-end torque.
Right.
So the variable valve timing adjusts everything to optimize for that, keeps everything nice and steady.
It's like the engine's taking a big, deep breath, getting ready to pull that trailer for miles and miles.
Exactly. But then picture yourself in your Mustang. You're on a twisty back road. You're really pushing it.
Oh,
Now you want that sharp throttle response. You want the power up high in the RPM range.
okay, yeah.
The valve timing changes again, optimizes everything for that kind of performance. Now it's like the engine's taking quick, short breaths, ready to pounce.
Wow, so it really is like having two completely different engines. That's almost as impressive as the, what is it, the four-valve per-cylinder design. That's like a classic performance thing, right?
Oh, yeah. It's a tried and true way to get more power.
Yeah.
And it all comes down to airflow.
More airflow equals more power?
Pretty much. With four-valve, two intake, two exhaust, you've got a lot more space for air to move in and out of the combustion chamber.
Okay, that makes sense. But, the Coyote is naturally aspirated, right?
Yep. No turbos, no superchargers.
Yeah. And nowadays, like, everything seems to be turbocharged or, supercharged.
Right.
So is that part of what makes the Coyote so special?
I think so, yeah. There's just something about that natural aspiration. You feel every single revolution of the engine. You hear that intake gulping air. It's like you can really feel the engine working to create that power.
It's like a more, what's the word? A more pure experience.
Yeah, exactly. A
Well,
more visceral experience.
speaking of visceral, we got to talk about the aftermarket scene. I mean, it seems like everyone's building project cars with Coyote engines.
It's a tuner's dream, that's for sure. It's such a strong platform. There's so much you can do with it.
You can do simple stuff like cold air intakes and exhausts.
Yeah, all the way up to supercharger kits, turbo kits, you name it.
And the forums are like full of people sharing tips and tricks on how to squeeze every last bit of power out of it.
Absolutely. It's a whole community, really.
Why is the Coyote so popular with that crowd, though?
A few reasons, I think. First, there's the potential. I mean, you can get big power gains with pretty basic mods.
Right.
Second, the engine itself is just tough.
Yeah,
It can handle a lot of abuse.
that's important.
And then third, you've got this whole network of tuners and enthusiasts who are constantly pushing the limits. They're sharing ideas, they're coming up with new ways to do things. It's really cool to see.
So, okay, we've got this amazing engine that can tow a trailer like a champ and then turn around and tear up a racetrack. But what does it all mean for, the average person? Like, why should they care about all this Coyote stuff?
That's a good question. I think the Coyote shows that engineering can be both really innovative and really practical. It's not just about pushing the boundaries of performance. It's about understanding what people need and then finding clever ways to deliver that.
We've talked a lot about the technical stuff, the horsepower, the torque, all that. But there's something else about the Coyote, right? It's like there's an emotional appeal.
Oh, absolutely. It's more than just a machine. It's like a symbol. It symbolizes a love of cars, a love of driving.
Especially in a world where everything's becoming more and more, practical, more efficient.
Yeah.
The Coyote's like a reminder that driving can be fun.
It's about the thrill of the open road, the sound of the engine. It's about freedom.
Yeah. And that's a legacy that the Coyote is going to carry on for a long time, I think. But, we can't ignore the elephant in the room. EVs,
Right.
electric vehicles are everywhere now. So where does an engine like the Coyote fit into all that?
Yeah, it's the big question, isn't it? Will there even be a place for engines like the Coyote when everyone's driving electric cars?
Yeah, it's something I think about a lot. I mean, on the one hand, EVs, they've got instant torque, they're silent, no emissions. Hard to argue with that.
For sure.
But then again, there's just something about the Coyote, that raw mechanical sound. It's like almost like a piece of music. Can you really replicate that with an electric motor?
It's tough, I think. And maybe that's what'll make the Coyote even more special as EVs take over. It'll be like this throwback, this reminder of a different era.
It'll be like listening to vinyl records when everyone else is streaming music.
Exactly. Or
Yeah.
driving a stick shift when everyone else has paddle shifters.
So the Coyote could become like a modern classic,
Absolutely.
a symbol of, a time when driving was about more than just getting from point A to point B.
Right. Who knows? Maybe Ford will even try to, build some of that feeling into their EVs.
Oh, like fake engine noises?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or maybe even, some kind of haptic feedback,
So you can feel the vibrations of a V8, even though it's electric. That'd be wild.
It would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
But for now, the Coyote's still here.
It's still evolving.
Still proving that there's room for, passion in engineering.
Yeah.
even in the modern world.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, before we wrap up, I want to talk about the Coyotes, like its legacy.
Yeah.
What do you think its impact will be on, the whole car world?
I think it'll be seen as a real turning point for the American V8. It took that classic formula, raw power, that sound, that feel, and brought it into the 21st century.
Right, they didn't have to compromise. Like they got both performance and efficiency.
Yeah, it appealed to everyone, from the hardcore enthusiasts to, you know, just regular people who wanted a cool car.
And you didn't have to like spend a fortune to get it. The Coyotes and the Mustang, the F-150.
Even some SUVs, right?
Yeah. I think that accessibility is a huge part of its legacy. It made performance, it made it available to everybody.
Absolutely.
And that's pretty awesome when you think about it.
It is.
So, to wrap things up for our listeners today, I want to leave you with this. The Coyote engine, it's more than just horsepower and tech specs. It's about passion. It's about ingenuity. It's about the feeling you get when you're behind the wheel of a truly great car.
And as the car world keeps changing, I think those are the stories that'll stick with us, the stories of innovation, of people who really cared about what they were doing.
Well said. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the Ford Coyote engine. We'll see you next time for another exciting exploration.